James Beams, who's the CEO of Piran Resources, will be giving his presentation, and you will have an opportunity to ask all the panel some questions shortly after that. So, thank you.
Well, good afternoon. We are bullish and we have jumped right into Rwanda. We've been going for a few years, and I'll just run through with the same brevity as my colleagues what makes us excited about what we're doing in Rwanda. I guess in short, we've got two of the T's and lithium that we've started to intersect with our drilling. And we feel like we're only just scratching the surface. A lot of resource potential that Oliver's talked about, we're seeing on the ground at our early stage. And then just touching back to what Francis discussed or talked about in terms of doing business in Rwanda. And I'll just share our experiences as a mining investor in the country. And we're in production. We've leveraged off old Belgian infrastructure, old Belgian maps, together with our own drilling that have taken us straight into an early part of the ore body. So we're almost using that as part of our exploration program to understand the bigger picture. So just very briefly, just touching on the commodity suite. I think most people in the room will know, but tin is no longer tin plate and your tin cans. Nearly half of consumption today is as a connector material in electronics, largely in solder. But where we see the real growth, and you can see it in a piece of work done by MIT in the bottom right of that slide, the real growth for tin, looking over the next 10, 20 years, is in new technology applications. And interestingly, well, it wasn't that new technology. But interestingly, tin in this analysis topped out above the much more sort of media-focused lithium and cobalt, for example. So we're very excited about tin, and then tantalum that comes with us, an even more niche product in electronics, largely capacitors and resistors, sort of high-end and very micro electronics. Lithium, everyone knows, is part of the battery revolution and feeding into electric vehicles, etc. So we think we've got a really exciting suite of products on the concession that we're looking at. Rwanda, Francis summed it up all. I mean, we see it in practice. Not only are the regulations clear, transparent, but they also work and they are applied. And it's not only the mining law, which was updated and renewed and focused on pushing the industry towards more professional development from the likes of people in this room, but also labour law and environmental law. All of these things are clear, understood, and we have easy access to all of the departments that we need to work with. I mean, as we go into these mines, we're dealing with the forestry department as we're growing and replacing trees that we're using for support in very early stage underground mines. So really supportive government, very investment friendly government, and you're hearing it from the investor side. And an anecdote I'll share, if Francis doesn't mind. Sitting at our mine site one day, I was talking about how mining or developing a mining operation is never a straight line, that there are always going to be bumps in the road. And he turned to me and he said, I just want you to know that the government is here to help you. We're not here to be another bump in the road. And isn't that a great environment to kick off a mining project anywhere in the world? So I can't say enough positive words about the support we get from government and indeed our local communities. And one needs to look at it as a triangle. We deal consistently. We have communications daily with the local communities, the local authorities, and indeed those national authorities I've just mentioned. Just diving down, I guess Oliver spoke about the potential in the country. So this dives down now to our concession. We've got a 25-year mining license covering about 4,000 hectares. We've just been granted in darker brown on either side of our two mining concessions 2 more exploration licenses, so about 6,000 hectares in total. And we started with some drilling last year. We chalked up about 10 million tons, largely to inferred level early this year. Picking essentially surface expressions along that left-hand chart, the left-hand map. It looks at is about 10, 12 kilometers, and those grey mustard rugby balls, if you like, are the surface expressions, both from what the Belgians were targeting, and we've looked at all their maps. In some of those areas, they started putting underground infrastructure in place, and indeed 30 years of artisanal mining scratching away on the surface since then. So those are just our early indicators of a band of mineralization that we see on surface. But far more important than that very early stage JORC resource is the bigger picture that's starting to emerge, and that is, we see along that whole band 2 large styles of mineralization. We get the pegmatite style that Oliver mentioned. We get sort of lower grade tin, but then complemented with tantalum. And then as you get into the unweathered pegmatite is where we see lithium as well. 1.6% lithium, 1 intersect, lithium oxide, for a continuous 80 meters before the drill gave out rather than the intersect. So we've got a lot more work to do to understand those pegmatites. And indeed, at depth, how to be scratching our heads, or we will scratch our heads on unlocking the potential there. And then the other style of mineralization folded in with these pegmatites is much higher grade tin, over 1%. So that first JORC resource, very small, 500,000 tons, at 1.2% tin, very decent tin, and we see that dots of that all along that line on the map. And so what are we doing about unlocking that much larger potential than just those first 2 JORC resources? We've adopted a twin track approach, and it's a little bit of an unusual approach. Rather than just sticking to exploration, knitting, and fully understanding the big picture before developing into operations, the Belgians left behind this infrastructure I mentioned, going straight into some of these ore bodies going from surface. So we've opened up that infrastructure, and in one of the small mines that were dotted on the previous slide, we've gone down 3 levels now. We've opened up kilometers of infrastructure for development, and we're now just beginning to start stoping between levels, just very basic early stage mechanized mining. And the beauty of getting into not always fully JORCed up, measured and indicated resource, but getting into those early, that trial mining, I've called it here, is number one, it acts as part of our exploration program. The infrastructure's been done, or somewhat done for us, so we're straight into the ore body. It's a very nuggety type of ore body, so drilling, it complements what drilling tells us, and it will give us a much more complete picture of what the bigger picture looks like. Second, we're starting small. We've got a small 15-ton-an-hour plant to process this material, and the whole thing is a trial. It's a proof of concept for what we strongly believe will be a much bigger future, an operating proof of concept. Thirdly, it will very quickly get to at least cash neutral, cash positive by later this year. And fourth, and I'll come back to it in a second, is that it helps us integrate our business model with the local communities. And these communities have subsisted largely on agriculture and or artisanal mining in the past. And so it's about taking that artisanal mining skill and bringing it into what we do. And then, of course, the second half of the twin track is pure exploration. We've hardly scratched the surface in that concession. I think we've drilled probably 1% of the surface area. And we've got to understand much more about the high-grade tin veins, but we've also got to understand that tin, tantalum, lithium, pegmatite picture a lot more than we do. Social environment, and I can't emphasize enough. You walk in, we've got our 4,000 hectares of mining license. There are people, we share the land with people all around us, you know, and so we simply, it simply has to be central to our business plan, how we share water, how we share land, and how we create jobs. And so we really do have a very supportive community. I'll come back to it on the next slide, but we close on 900 employees now. And a lot of those people don't have a formal mining education, but boy, underground, they can tell us where the veins are. You know, so it's a very willing workforce, absorbing stuff like a sponge, and we're bringing in graduates from the universities in Kigali, these young mining engineers, and at a different education level at least, but the same thing. So we've got an exciting, growing workforce. 98% Rwandan on our site. And this just follows on. This is the jobs element of it. So that trial mining that we just started with, and we brought on a whole group of people as full employees. They're paying their taxes, paying social security for the first time in their lives with a formal job, and it's working really well, not only for them but for us. Is a fantastic start for us. So really very good. And just to finish off, I guess the message on this, I won't go through it all in detail, but as everyone in the room knows, mining is a long-term commitment, and we've been going at it for a few years. We did have one or two early bumps in the road. The drilling and the work we did last year on understanding the bigger regional resource potential has really got us on track, and we're pushing forward hard now. And with that resource potential and with a very supportive government, we couldn't be more pleased with our experience so far. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much indeed. A fantastic case study of, I think, what happens when you have a truly open, transparent system that wants to really encourage mining development. I think that was very well articulated. Thank you very much. We have left some time in this session for Q&A, and as you can see, we have an outstanding panel of speakers here, so this is the time to find out about Rwanda. So I'd like to open the floor up now.